So my toxic mother wants to be my maid of honor at my upcoming wedding, but I don't think she should be it because, well, she hates me. So she decides to start a disturbance because I told her no. I was currently waiting just for Mike to show up at my house at any moment. He was going to come to meet my mother for the first time ever. I met Mike for the very first time at my university. The very moment I laid my eyes on him, I was blown away by his visuals. That's when I decided to pursue him and made the first move just a few months later. It took me some time to get Mike to date me, but once we started dating, we both were head over heels for each other. And although it was his face which made him want to date him later, his personality made me like him even more later on. Mike is a very patient person and calm, rarely gets mad, and I think that's one of the reasons why our relationship lasted this long, despite the constant negativity projected our way by my own mother. Mike and I have been dating for a year and a half, and now we decided to get engaged. I've never allowed my mother to meet him before, but now that things are getting pretty serious between us, I decide to arrange a meeting. I've already told Mike about my mom's horrible personality and sharp tongue. Even though she had not met him before, she showed great distaste for him when I informed her about our relationship. She told me to break up with him even before seeing him. She has always been like this. My father left us when I was just a few months old, and my mom told me it was a drunken mistake of his and he never wanted me. So even though my mother did not want me, she thought giving birth to me might keep her relationship alive, so that's how I was born. But soon after I turned a few months old, my father ran away and refused to take any responsibility. My mom's been with 2 men after him and both cheated on her. And that's one of the reasons why she loathes every relationship and always doubts my boyfriends. Whenever I would bring my boyfriend home to meet her, she would chase them away and I would be left alone. This kept on going till high school and I moved out of the house and got my own apartment. She lives close by and still had not given up her habit of meddling in my relationships. I've been successful in hiding Mike away from her until we got serious and I told him about my situation. My mom has always kept me isolated from our relatives too. She thinks of everybody negatively and always exaggerates things however she likes. Anyways, back to the dinner which I arranged. Mike came over and greeted my mother. Things were going well since Mom was quiet most of the time and just eyeing him. But then she decides to break her silence, which is something I wish she had not, and started bombarding him with personal questions about his family, his work, past, and in short, everything about his life. I tried to stop her, but when did she ever listen? She used her old tricks to chase my boyfriend away, but surprisingly, it failed for the first time. No matter how hard she tried to irritate Mike, my man did not lose his calm. He ignored her constant complaints about indirect insults, and just when I thought her tantrums would slip, she proved me wrong. Mike and I told her about our engagement, and she just furiously stood up and started berating me right in front of him. Her nagging made me lose my temper, and I absolutely snapped. An ugly argument happened right then and there, and I wanted nothing but peace. This incident made me not talk to her for weeks until she came to me and made peace again. And even though things worked out, and then she continued to give me and Mike quite a tough time, and this kept on continually till my engagement party. We had invited a limited number of people to celebrate our engagement, just a few close friends and our family members. My mom had initially announced to boycott my engagement, but I don't know what changed and she decided to come. I was quite nervous about her meeting my soon-to-be in-laws. It was my special occasion and I should be happy, but the fear of her ruining the fun was always at the back of my mind. I was jittery the whole morning of my engagement, and when I was dressing up, I could feel in my bones that she was not going to let things happen in peace. Mike queried me about my worries, but I couldn't allow myself to tell if it was my mother whose presence was giving me a headache. His family was so nice and understanding, but then there was mine. So the embarrassment did not let me utter a word. Anyways, the bad feeling I was having was proven yet again right a few hours later. Let me tell you what happened. So, I was receiving my guest and even introducing my fiancé to my side of the guest. I was occupied with a lot of tasks at the same time, so I wasn't really paying attention to my surroundings. Mike and I have kept greeting guests and making small talk with them. All was going smoothly, and it was only when two families met a disaster occurred. Anna, Mike's mom, came to us, congratulating us and handing us over some gift. When we were all in high spirits and chatting animatedly, my mother arrived a bit late and spotted me chatting with her. Well, she padded straight towards us and took my hand, dragging me away. Mike and his mom could only stare at her bizarre actions. Well, I stood a few centimeters away, listening to her compliments about the guest list and decor. It was only when Mike came to my rescue I got the chance to get away from her. Later, Anna introduced herself to her and got to know that she was my infamous mother. Anna tried not to say a lot to her, but still, my mother found something to argue about, and that was how the feud began. My mom starts criticizing men and the fake pretense people have, and just like Anna later told me, slowly she started making indirect jabs at Anna. Mike and their family and Anna tried not to react, but the moment she talked about, well, her dead husband, she lost it. Anyways, that leads to both the women yelling and throwing profanities at each other, and my mom crossed the line by throwing a glass of wine on her dress. They tried to charge each other and hurt each other severely, but Mike intervened and took Anna away. The moment, of course, could not be ignored, so after my engagement party got all heated up because of the two, my relationship also was affected. Anna was so furious that she warned Mike to think over his decision again. Just like everyone assumes I could be like my mother. I totally understand why she thought so too, and the constant arguments and tensions continued for weeks and only ended when I made my mother apologize to Anna. Although she did not entirely do what I wanted, at least she managed to make Anna calm and smoothen things out for us again. But I did not forget what she did. I decided to keep my distance from her in order to save my relationship. I minimized my meetings with her, and she kept trying to contact me and meet me, but I was adamant to draw a line between us, and so I did. I remember that I kept my stance for weeks and did not allow her to even talk to me. Mike kept himself completely out of my business and did not utter a word regarding the topic. I've never been able to stay away from her for this long. I've always just let her get her way with her attitude, so when this time I took a stand, I think she realized that she really needed to change her behavior. Or that's what I had thought when she came to my house one day and acted extra nice and talked things out with me. But unfortunately, that was proven wrong just a few months later. Mom kept low for months and did not get involved with anything related to me. It was going really peacefully, which itself was a huge shock for me. If I recall my childhood, I can remember tons of moments she ruined things for me. I've never realized she was a bit too much until I got mature and started meeting other people and seeing their interaction with their parents. I used to think her keeping tabs on everything I did was normal, as she would get worried or make decisions for me because I was not as wise and experienced as her. Well, it was alright till this, but it got weird when she started even getting involved in my relationships and just kept making me break up with them for silly reasons. She always had a bad reputation, so it only worsened when my relatives got to know about it, and they forewarned me that it all can be happening because she was not having it, and that you're doing good with a man unlike her. Anyways, so I took their advice seriously. One day, out of the blue, Mom showed up at Mike's workplace unannounced and stirred up a lot of drama there. She yelled at him, acting like a total, what people call, Karen. Regardless, Mike did not tell me about it. I only found out about it days later when I dropped by there unannounced to surprise him, and he was on a break for a few minutes and had gone to eat something. So, his coworker told me about my mom's nice visit. I could not be more furious about it as I barged out there and drove straight to my mother's house. And this all led to a fight between us. Mom must be shocked as she could not utter a single word, seeing me fuming with anger. It was the only time when I said things I never knew I would even have the courage to think of. But this one outburst proved to be really necessary. I'd made it clear to her that if she does something like this again, it can affect me really badly, and I might stop mingling with her if this happens again. Things eventually got quiet, and my words were taken seriously. Months passed, and Mike and I start to ponder about marrying each other. Our relationship got even stronger, and we were falling more and more for each other. By the end of the year, we had finalized our decision and chosen a wedding date. And of course, it was a hard job to carry out, since Anna and her mom were suggesting completely different dates and months. A lot of discussions and meetings eventually helped us to come to a mutual conclusion about the wedding preparations officially started. Mom did not help me even a tiny bit though. Whenever I would call her for help, she would make an excuse and say she's busy. Au contraire, Anna helped me a lot. Even when I contacted my mother to help me choose a wedding dress, she refused. It was Anna who helped me all. I was really disappointed in my mother, but it was no surprise that she was acting like that. She had always been like this, and she never helps anyone, and when everything's done, she shows up acting like she's all sincere, and making excuses about her absence, and of course, that's what she did this time too. Mike and I were sitting in our newly bought house. Anna helped us choose it, and I also aided us in buying the furniture and setting it up. She worked hard to help us in every way, so she could, and I was really grateful to her for that. Mike was talking about choosing a venue for our wedding. We were seriously discussing each and everything, trying our best not to leave out any details. We took our time to choose the venue, the after-party place, the food menu, the song choices, and the guest list. In short, all the tasks were getting finalized. We hear the front door open, and Anna walks in holding a container of food. She gave us the food, for which we sincerely thanked her, and we started chatting. We kept deciding things and making sure nothing was missed. It was then we started discussing the matron of honor. Mike and I talked about who should be the matron of honor, and of course we had a strong candidate for it. Anna had excused herself to make coffee for everyone, while we sat in the living room chatting about it. Mike and I both came to the conclusion that it was genuinely going to be Anna. We were in the middle of talking when the front door opened and Emmy, my mother, walked in. She didn't greet anyone and walked straight towards me, pulling me into a hug and dropping herself on the couch. I looked over at Mike, who had a blank expression on his face, and I opened my lips to say something but was cut off by my mother. She didn't say anything but one sentence about her wanting to be the matron of honor. Mike and I had no idea what to say. She starts talking about how she raised me as a single mother and had worked hard for me, and all the emotion cards she got in her sleeves were used, but I wasn't impressed. She wasn't supportive towards us, and I knew it was only fair if Anna was the matron of honor. She was there for us when we needed her the most. So, I cleared my throat and stated directly that the matron of honor was already decided, and it was going to be Anna. Oh boy, that's when all hell broke loose. My mother starts yelling and cursing at me, and Mike tried to slap her, but to no avail. Anna heard the yelling and came from the kitchen. Just when Mom spotted her, her anger doubled. Mike and I tried to interfere and stop her, but she wasn't listening to anybody. Well, I have to go for now, but I'll update you with the details of this. Update number 1. Hey guys, sorry, I didn't mean to leave you hanging in the last post. So, when my mom heard about Anna being chosen as the matron of honor, she took it as another opportunity to cause a ruckus in my life. She was loudly cursing, throwing profanities at us, and she was acting hysterical. And although it was nothing new to me, Mike and Anna seemed petrified by it. Mom continued her drama as she kept reminding me about how ungrateful I am, and how unlucky she was to have me, and all the insults she could remember at the moment. But she made sure to blurt them out. Mike and I stood there helplessly as she starts crying and throwing a fit. Anna was quietly watching her with furrowed brows, and I couldn't be more embarrassed in my life because of her. I tried to get close to her and get a hold of her, but she glared at me, pushing me away. Anna, who was watching it silently, lost her temper and starts yelling back at her. Something in my mother snapped and she picked up the coffee, which has gotten cold by now, thank goodness, and threw it towards her. The mug broke loudly that moment it hit the ground, making a clattering noise while the coffee spilt everywhere, also all over Anna's clothing. Mom charged towards her, and this time she was successful in getting to her. Our eyes widened with horror when we saw her yanking Anna's hair. Mike ran towards them and pushed my mother back, standing in front of his mother to protect her, and I was just frozen in my place. Mom did not stop as she shouted at them, and I finally got a hold of myself and padded towards her. I know how dangerous she gets if you mess with her. I tried to calm her down, and about 20 minutes later, we finally managed to sit down and talk. Mike dragged me towards the kitchen, telling me to make my mother go away, so we argued for a bit as I tried to make him understand how toxic she gets and will cause another drama if we just ignore her. Mike wasn't really listening at that point, but eventually he just let me take the lead. We went back to the living room and found our mother in a heated conversation once again. We sat there watching them argue for an hour before finally interfering as none of them was stepping back. Mom just kept pressuring us to make her the matron of honor, but now that Anna was also sick of her and didn't want to let her win, she expressed her desire to be the matron of honor too. While refusing my mother would cause so many problems, and refusing Anna could cause Mike to be mad at me. Anna gets furious over my mom's constant yelling and asks me to see her off, but Mom was stubbornly just sitting there waiting for me to announce her victory. I had no idea what to do. Mom made it clear that she should be the matron of honor if I wanted to get married to the man I wanted. I had no idea that deciding the matron of honor would be this big of an issue. And yet, here it was, being one of the greatest hurdles in my way of getting married. All because of my mom's toxic behavior. Update number 2. Well, so the matron of honor was still on the most controversial issues of my wedding. The day my mom heard about Anna being that and having a fracas with her, it was still undecided. Till Anna had not caused one trouble for us, and Mike was also hoping to appreciate her by making her the matron of honor. So, the decision was pushed back for a few days, and we got busy with other wedding preparations. Mom kept calling me and telling me that it should be her no matter what, and I wanted to get rid of her at this point, but I also knew she had spent a lot of energy bringing me up. Call it manipulation or whatever, but I was understanding her viewpoint too. Although it had always been like that, she had always made me think she was right one way or the other, and maybe the trick was still working. So, I pondered over it for a few days and considered, and well, I consulted Mike about it too, and we finally came to a decision. I called my mom, telling her to come to the house. She wasted no time getting there, and I told her about my decision, which was Anna going to be the matron of honor, and no matter what, the woman did a lot for me and worked really hard to help me with the wedding preparations. The moment she heard my words, loud yells again started resonating in my home. She was fuming with anger as she reminded me about her contributions once again. I tried to persuade her and make her understand why we decided this, but she turned a deaf ear to all of us. She only kept going about her sacrifices, and the moment she was done with her outburst, she picked up her bag and marched out of that house, refusing to listen to any explanation. I let her be for days and waited for her to anger just to calm down. but it never did. About 5 days later, I received a call where she denied our invitation and refused to come to the wedding. I could not be more stressed after hearing that. From my side of the family, it was only her, and I felt extremely sad after hearing it, and Mike tried to convince me and decided to go apologize to her personally. So, a day later we paid her a visit, and at first, she did not let us come in. But after a few minutes, she allowed us to enter. She asked us if we had, thought about our decision. But we made it known that the matron of honor was still going to be Anna, so the meeting did not prove to be the fruitful one we wanted, and we returned home. Distressed, of course. Mom gave us a clear refusal to attend our wedding ceremony unless she was made the right matron of honor, and of course that was something I didn't want, as it would be really unfair to Anna. So the issue only got bigger, but we stayed put, and let it known that Anna was going to be the matron of honor and carry out her duties on the wedding day. So my question to you, am I the a-hole for not making my mother the maid of honor after her ruckus with my sister-in-law? Update number 3, a few weeks later. Hey guys, it's been a few weeks since my last update where I asked you if I'm the a-hole. And I was just too busy in preparation because my wedding day was coming closer, and the issue with the maid of honor was long resolved. Anna was confirmed to be the matron of honor, and this resulted in my mom's refusal to come. Mike and I decided to try once more again to visit her, so we went. She was strangely calm this time and let us talk as she listened to us. Both of us were just stupefied by the 180-degree turn in her behavior, and we were left even more surprised when she accepted our invitation and promised us that she would come despite the ugly situation that occurred before. And we had no idea what caused her to change her decision, but we were joyful to hear that nonetheless. But things did not prove to be that joyful later on. Although Mom had apparently given up on being the matron of honor, she started to be troublesome by involving herself in each and every decision we tried to make. It would not have been much of a problem if she would not make a conflict about every single thing we did. From the flower colors to the wedding venue, she just butted in on every matter and just made an issue about everything by showing distaste towards us every decision we tried to do. She was motivated to give me a headache of the century, no matter what. Not only that, but she also kept getting in small fights with Mike's mom, making my life an absolute nightmare. Both the women hated each other's guts, and Anna, being the matron of honor, only added fuel to the fire, making Mom even more furious. Despite all that, I kept myself busy with other things as I had a lot on my plate to deal with. I paid no attention to them and let them continue their kitty fights and didn't lose focus. Every day, my mom would have caused another drama and leave me to deal with the after effects. From canceling the guests to changing my wedding dress, she played all kinds of tricks to make my head explode. But I've dealt with her for 24 years, so I knew how to handle her. Mom also did not forget to go around talking bad about my soon-to-be mother-in-law and husband. Oh no, she made sure to ruin their reputation and act as a victim. A lot of our neighbors were also against my mother-in-laws now. She was good at manipulating and gaslighting, so it was no wonder that she made people hate them. I've always seen my mother act as a victim and be the innocent one in front of others just to gain sympathy. I had always fallen for her tricks, so it was nothing shocking that they did too. It took me a lot of time to realize how terrible her disposition was, and she was good at faking to be a perfectly nice lady, so I'm sure they would be clueless about her real personality. I was starting to regret my decision of inviting her to the wedding, but not inviting her only favored her victim stance that I had going, so I knew how she could use it to prove her daughter is the selfish one, who neglected her own mother and abandoned her as soon as she found a man. So I just kept on going with her tricks and decided to deal with her later. Update number 4. The wedding day finally arrived. After all the hardships, I was finally able to get married. Everything was going well and everyone was loving the ceremony, and we made sure not to let anyone deal with any kind of problem. It was going smoothly and there was no complications whatsoever, and maybe this bothered my mother a little too much. Well, just a moment later, when the matron of honor came, Mom got mad. Usually it's the bride side of the family that gets to become the matron of honor, but since I had no one and Anna helped me a lot, I tried to make it special by making her the maid of honor. And although it may sound weird to some people, there was no rule whatsoever to decide who it should be, and I considered Anna my best friend. It was only fair that I made her that after she helped me out. A lot of people throughout the wedding questioned my choice and even sided with my mother, ruining my mood a tiny bit. But I tried to ignore their hatred. It was my wedding, and I was the one who had the right to decide it. I saw my mother telling the guest how unacceptable and shady it was to make my mother-in-law the maid of honor when it was, well, something that she should have done. I decided to let her be. I did what I did, and I didn't regret my decision one bit. Other than the contrast backbiting my mom was doing, there weren't any major problems. It was only when my mom made a scene with Anna again that I decided that it was more than enough. Mom had made me invite her friends since there was no relative she kept in contact with, so they were the guests from my side. All those women started bullying her for stealing my mom's spot, and she deserved a chance to be the maid of honor, as she was my only family left. Anna did not know how to respond to the bullies, and it was only when one thing were out of control that I decided to intervene, and this angered my mom even more. Not even minding that it was my wedding day and that it was of no use to fight over being the maid of honor, she still started yelling at me. The guests were standing dumbfounded, watching her go hysterical and ruin my wedding day for me. She wasn't listening to anyone, and maybe people were finally realizing how mad she was. They tried to stop her too, but it was no avail. I took a deep breath and called the guards to kick her out. Though it rained two things for me. One is my wedding day, and the second was my relationship with my mother. It still finally gave me the mental peace, and I could finally breathe again, though. My toxic mom had once again tried to ruin my wedding by making the matron of honor a big issue. But I'm glad she did not get what she wanted, and it was Anna who got the honor. I did not contact my mom after that and broke all kinds of connections with her. Although, I was very much aware of the fact that she was not going to leave me alone, and will be back to cause another drama. Thank you for all your help in the comment section. So this story was just a sticky situation all the way around. And what a toxic environment for OP to have to be in leading up to the wedding. I would like to hear from you guys what exactly you would have done if your toxic mother was pleading to be your maid of honor and you simply told her no. And then this giant disaster plays out. Go ahead and drop your comments down below, guys. That's all the stories for today. I hope you enjoyed the content. Make sure to smash that subscribe button and click the like on the video if you enjoyed. I hope to see you tomorrow. Have a fantastic day.